Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Hardscape Huddle. I'm your host, Kyle Staffa, and thank you again for the airing of Season 2. Today I'm visited with Simon from Weber MT. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, we get out of that cold climate of Michigan.
Oh, yeah. Get away from the snow.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why you're in a T-shirt today. I'm in a heavy sweatshirt, right?
Climatized for the cold weather.
So last time I saw you, we were down in Florida at a Teco event.
Yes.
Weather was a lot different. We had great conversation, and I'm glad you were able to join us today.
Oh, we're glad to be here, help any way we can in the hardscape industry, and just promote our good quality equipment and then the value that it comes from that.
Right. So today's conversation is going to be about Weber MT and basically all the compaction equipment you guys offer. So you've been with the company about 7-8 years?
About 8 years. December 17 I started. Previous was a installer, millwright type of conveyors, set machineries, and sales seemed very promising at the time, and new management changed for Weber, and it exploded from there. So I was a rep for about 6 years, covered all of the Midwest.
What's your territory now?
So now I'm a product specialist for the company.
Okay.
I've been transitioned out of direct sales. I had 11 states.
Wow.
And to cover that area effectively, we hired a bunch of independent reps. A lot of guys became available a couple years ago, and we got to basically pick the cream of the crop for some areas that we had not had coverage.
Gotcha.
So hired those guys. They took over, transitioned over to doing a lot of the trade shows. We did all the trade shows before, more specialty in the education and training during this time of the year.
Right. So you guys are basically in training and education right now, right? This time of year?
Yeah. Everything's frozen. We cover all of North America, so Canada and the United States. Canada's under several feet of snow at the moment.
They can have it.
They can have it, yep. And the Midwest and the Northeast, it's all the show, the hardscape training season, So there's a lot of different people and companies that offer education to the hardscaper, and we partake in as much as we can.
And those outside reps help with that too, right? I mean, I just saw on Facebook or Instagram you were out at the World of Concrete, which is always in Las Vegas.
Yes, yeah. A lot of traveling, a lot of flying. Last year, we teamed up with our friends at Teco Block and did the showcase.
Okay.
I did all 30-some shows last year.
Wow.
So I was on the road for with Paver Pete. I was right there with him, and it was difficult. Something I wouldn't want to do every day.
What is that? About 30 weeks? No, probably a little longer than that, right?
It was about 3 months on the road, living in a hotel.
Yeah.
Couple trips home, but yeah, with the reps, it kind of frees me up to do a lot of other things too. We just did outdoor living mastery with Pave Tool.
Okay.
So that happened at the same time that the Teco shows were going on. So we got to,
And that is an educational seminar in Pennsylvania, is it not?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. This year it was in Pennsylvania. I can't remember where it was last year. I think it was Pennsylvania, but it was at a community center for the Amish community. Beautiful setting, and
Phil does a great job.
Oh my gosh, education. It was controlled chaos to say the least. First day over there was mud everywhere. By Friday, it looked like a catalog.
Yeah, wow.
It was all the trades. Everybody worked together. Baylor Brothers and their team and all the other contractors that came in to work with them. My hat's off to all you guys. I mean, it was amazing.
So I want to circle back to that in a moment. As here in New Jersey, we do have contractors trying to work this time of year. So I want to talk about compaction, ratings or density, and what machines are going to be good for that. But we'll follow up on that in a moment.
Sure,
I do want to talk about your company and the tools and added value you guys bring to the end user, being the contractor.
Okay.
So if you can enlighten us on how you guys differ from other Whacker or other companies out there.
Sure. So we're a family-owned company, third generation. 1952 is when the company was incorporated.
Oh, wow.
1957, we went from basically a tool rental store to a manufacturer of plate compactors. And along the way, Gunther Weber invented a few things for the industry. It was the reversing aspect of a plate compactor. So he
invented that in 57?
Or
thereabouts?
I think it was 1997 or
okay.
In the late 90s.
Okay.
If I'm correct, I may be off. But it was mechanical switching of the exciter to make it vibrate backwards. And then in 2004, we introduced Compaction, which is the compaction meter for a small plate.
Meaning basically it gives you your density rating as you are compacting your subsoils or aggregates or what have you.
It actually reads the vibration or the frequency of the vibration in the soil. So real time, you're getting a reading that says no more compaction is needed, or you need to
keep going.
Either way, keep going or stop, because the machine's not going to get any more compaction into the ground.
Right.
And then Wolfgang took over, and then Matthias and Katarina run the company now, and it's looking good. It's looking really good as far as machines and technology and things like that.
I think when people talk about the best plate compactors for the hardscape market, I think Weber's probably top of the line. You know, it's always up there, number one somewhere. You know, maybe not, definitely in the top three.
Sure. Yeah, we started to make some waves. You know, before everybody had a yellow or an orange machine, and now all of a sudden there's starting to be a lot more blue ones out there. Our quality is top of the line for what we do for a small company. So we got 200 employees in Germany. We got 12 in the States and North America. So we do a really good job with what we have to give the customers a very good experience buying our equipment, using it.
So it's all German engineered.
Yes.
German manufacturing, which we've talked about in previous podcasts. Europe is 30 years ahead of us in the hardscape concrete world.
Yes.
You know, so I think it's big that these guys in 1957 incorporated and then kept working on compaction back then. When did they bring it to the States? Back in the 90s? Or?
Back in the 90s. We've been in, we started in Bangor, Maine. Where we first incorporated as the master dealer.
So they like cold climates.
Yes. In 2018, we moved to Grand Rapids, Michigan, and that's where our headquarters for North America is at now. Everything comes in, parts, machines, and then we distribute that through a dealer network. And then from there, with the education of things, you know, you can say, yeah, you need a plate compactor, but what kind of plate compactor do you need, and why a blue machine? Why a Weber?
So this morning you handed me this beautiful, I don't know, three or four pages of compactors. I mean, most guys just, like you said, I just need a compactor, and they see one sitting on a distributor's floor somewhere, and you know, I'm gonna come clean and just say, hey, yeah, take that one, right? Or no, I stock this one. But there's a lot of different variations that I can sell you here.
Yes.
And maybe we should spend a few minutes of, you know, why a jumping jack or a rammer versus a plate compactor or a roller compactor. Maybe give me the ins and outs. Jumping jacks for muddy soil, tighter conditions, things like that?
Yep, pretty much. The rammer is a cohesive soil machine. When clay gets wet, it gets sticky. And the rammer actually leaves the ground 3 to 4 inches before it comes back down. It's a spring-loaded machine. As that spring compresses, the machine pops off the ground. As it expands, then it punches the ground again.
Right.
So it does not stick to the cohesive clay-based soils, and it packs a punch.
Getting hit by Mike Tyson.
Yes, yeah, it's 4,100 pounds of impact force. They do a really good job of getting the air pockets and hopefully you stop before the water starts to come up, because it'll bring water to the surface with that impact. And also it's in very tight areas in a trench.
Yep, that's the only time I've ever used them was in trench conditions.
Yes.
You know, we were probably building walls or something like that back then, you know, so. You see a lot of road construction guys using it for down in like water manholes areas and things like that.
Yep, a lot of service tie-ins, you know, water, gas, sewer. Anytime there's a pipe until there's enough base above the pipe. Then you can bring the plate compactor out, and then after that, then you bring the big roller or other type of heavy compaction.
Drum rollers or what have you.
Yeah.
Now you're saying 4,100 PSI?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So good to know. And then it looks like there's 3 or 4 different versions of rammers that you guys offer.
Yeah, we offer 4 different versions. They vary from a 5-inch wide shoe for very small trenches. If you're doing irrigation, drains away from the home, if you're doing gutters and to get that water away from the home, any place where you don't want to over excavate.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other 3 models that we offer, best power to weight ratio in the industry, meaning the lightest weight, hardest hitting machines.
Mm-hmm.
And we vary from 137 pounds up to 154 pounds.
Wow.
in various weights, 4,100 to 4,700 pounds of impact force on that type of machine. Super heavy duty, great machines, very well built.
Yeah. Now, getting back to well-built machines, German engineering, German manufacturing, what's warranties on your machines?
We do a 3-year.
Okay.
3-year on anything
standard,
blue, silver, and Honda. On some of our other machines, we offer a diesel engine, and that's the HOTS diesel. That's a 2-year warranty on that machine, but everything blue or silver is a 3-year, including the Honda.
Nice.
So,
yeah, so you're running all Honda motors on, I think, just correct me if I'm wrong, on everything other than the diesel motors.
correct.
Okay.
Yep. We do offer some battery-powered equipment. So for the green,
Yep.
Trying to eliminate the emissions in congested areas and city centers, underneath buildings. If you're in a hospital, this is more for construction guys, but if you're in a hospital and you have to replace a line that's, 0 emissions,
Yep.
we have that technology available.
Are you starting to see more and more use out of that or not?
Certain areas, East Coast, like in the New York areas, where California
yeah.
for sure. Any place that it's mandated green.
Okay. Battery life?
30 to 40 minutes, depending on the machine and frequency of on and off.
Right.
If you're going to continuously use it, you're going to get 45 minutes. If you on and off every 2, 3, 4 minutes, that battery life does drop.
Right. So is it like a 18 volt or, obviously much bigger?
It is a 1.8 kilowatt.
Okay, so it's much bigger.
So it's very large. It's almost the size of a car battery.
Wow.
But it's removable. It's a nice machine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a big motor because it says here that the engine speeds 3,000 to 3,600 RPMs.
It goes. It
Yeah,
goes pretty good.
Yeah, that's outrageous. So, you'd have to have an extra battery. So I got to imagine that this isn't the most cost effective unless you're doing, like you said, underground work or in a parking garage where you can't have the emissions.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, the machines come with, on the battery side, it comes with 2 batteries and a charger. So you can get an hour and a half of run time with rotating the batteries. And then charge time is about an hour per battery.
Gotcha.
Plus or minus, depending on how discharged it is.
Yeah, interesting. Company sounds like a great company. I have not been fortunate enough to meet the owners, and I need them to send me a plane ticket to get to Germany.
Sure.
And
Katarina? Yeah.
But no, it'd be cool to bring some cameras over, and if they would allow us to film in the manufacturing.
I have a video of kind of somewhat of a hype video that Germany made.
Sure, let's take a look.
And we'll play that. This is our manufacturing buildings. That's our rammer and trench
All of this ground is yours here?
This ground here,
Okay.
the long buildings, test facility.
Wow.
So every machine is ran for 30 to 45 minutes before we box it up and ship it out.
But we don't get the used price.
No. So what it does is it eliminates any loose bolts, any leaks.
Yeah.
That, we're all human.
Any potential issues that may occur on the job site
are going to happen in the first 30 minutes anyway.
There's your gauge you were talking about before.
That's the comp patrol that measures density of the ground. This we do not offer in the United States. It's a tracking theft in Europe.
Like a GPS is built in?
It eliminates that. Well, at least you'll be able to find out where your machine's at.
Anytime, or are we talking about doing that to machines in the United States? Or
there's
not really?
There's a lot of different types of tracking. that are offered here. Very inexpensive. The Apple iPad top
Yeah.
tags, things
Yep.
like that. It wasn't very well received when it first came out, and so
Yeah. No point in having it here.
it's just an option that we can add to the machine. Some of the fellas out there, easy to use. I mean,
Yeah.
forward, reverse on a reversible. There's no levers to pull.
It just flips that handle.
It's very ergonomic and very easy to use. I have some personal videos of a 4-year-old little girl running one of our plates. I was at a rental store, and he goes, "Can my daughter run it?" Sure. Let's get her out here.
There's your rammer.
Yep, small rammer.
Yep, as you can see, it's coming up off the ground and retracts.
Yep.
4,100 psi.
That machine there is 2,050 impact pounds.
Okay.
This is the 4,100 here.
Yeah, you can see it jumping up off the ground.
Yeah. On our machines now, the throttle is the fuel shut off as well. It turns the engine off because it breaks the contact of the electrical part of it, and it also turns the fuel off, so you don't have to worry about
spilling
the
person
fuel.
losing control,
Yep.
and it falling out of his hand.
Our engineering department going over what it takes to make a machine.
Yeah.
Some of the complex. They're very simple machines, but they are very. You have to build them well to, make them last a long time. This is when our trench roller was in development. Took about 5 years.
Wow.
To release it to the public.
Wow.
Before we decided it was.
So there's more to it than just putting a motor on a.
Yeah. Yep. A little bit ago, the picture of the computer that's measuring vibration in the ground.
Yep.
We put sensors in the ground. Is it vibrating 20, 30 inches down?
Gotcha.
So
Well, that's smart.
this is our rammer assembly area.
Everything's done by hand.
Yes. Yep. Majority of the parts are turned. We have a machine shop, so a lot of our internal parts are machined on site.
So they're not all plastic and.
It's machined solid steel pieces and parts. Our testing, this is where we do our 35 to 40 minutes of testing. Large reversible plate assembly.
All steel gears.
All steel gear.
Yeah.
There's a cast plate, and our exciters are molded into that plate. So everything's done from the top. It's very easy to work on these types of machines with a little bit of knowledge.
Yeah,
Our service manager, Jason.
And you have to maintain your machine once you buy it. You can't
yes.
just put it in the trailer, use it, and forget about it. Right.
Yeah, you definitely have to keep the oil, the fluids changed,
Yep.
clean, mud off the machine as best possible. Yeah, pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. Just something totally different from this industry that most people wouldn't get a chance to see this.
Correct.
Right? I mean,
Right.
and that's what this show is all about, is bringing value and education to why that machine is $2,500, $3,500, $4,500 versus a different brand that might be
A little bit less expensive.
Yeah.
Or
Yep.
and I think it kind of goes back to that we're a smaller company. We don't have 10 vice presidents and all these different guys in charge of stuff. So
Was that a walk behind drum roller?
it's some machines that we don't offer in the States, but
Okay.
we do that are very popular in Europe. The rigid frame double drum roller is not very popular here. We need articulated.
Yeah.
So, and then it's going into the parts department in Germany. We carry not as much in the United States. I mean, we're covering just the United States, where Germany's covering the world.
Yeah. But I mean, let's face it. No matter how well you take care of something, this machine is going to take abuse in the
Yes.
field. It's made for that.
Yes.
So you're going to need a good parts department and good customer service where I can pick up the phone and talk to somebody.
Yeah. That's another thing that we really pride ourselves on.
Great video. Thank you so much.
Yeah. When you call, you're going to get somebody that answers the phone. Normal business hours, 8 to 4:30.
Yeah.
Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah.
Second ring, third ring, you're definitely going to get somebody that can answer your questions.
Yeah.
Whether it's what machine do I need for this type of environment or project, or I need a pull start cable cord for this machine.
What about if I don't know what I need? Okay, I'm on a job site and the thing just stops working. Okay, it's not, compacting. Motor's running.
Yep. That's probably a belt, more than
most
likely.
But is there somebody I can call to troubleshoot?
Sure. Yeah, we got a service manager. Jason's up in Montreal, but he covers all of North America. He's a
Sounds
very
like-
busy person.
Sounds like a tech guru.
He is. He used to work out in the field for CAT as a mobile mechanic, and somehow we scooped him up, and it's been a blessing, for our company to have very knowledgeable staff that can answer those questions. The training he received in Germany, and then he does that for our dealers as well.
Okay.
What we would like your machine that breaks down, call your dealer first. Hey, machine's broke. What do I do? Jason's trained a good number of these guys that they can answer that. But if they can't,
Right.
then like Jason's the final boss. I mean,
Yeah.
so he can really diagnose.
And Jason doesn't want to be filled in 100 calls a day, most likely,
no.
from all over the country.
At times, he's elbows deep in a machine himself. Can't answer the phone all the time. So
Right.
really the best way would be to email first, and then let him call when he's got time to answer that question.
But just rest assured, you send that email, somebody's seeing it pretty timely.
Jason clears his email every day.
So again, that video, interesting. I'd still like to get there. Send me a plane ticket, will you? I do like first class too.
Right.
No, but it sheds a lot of light on, again, what makes Weber different than the other machines. You guys are the first one in the compaction end of our business that has come on the show. And so again, thank you for that. But these are things that guys just take for granted.
Sure.
Okay. I got a compactor. I don't need another one.
Right.
Well, I just recently sold a machine, and the contractor that purchased it came back to me. He's like, look at how much I can knock down my DGA in one pass. And he was just like, man, I guess my other older compactor, which was not a blue and white one, wasn't compacting as much as I thought it was. So again, he didn't have a gauge or anything of what density rating he was hitting. We were just, that looks good. Right. But now that he's got a brand new machine, maybe a 4,500 PSI machine, I think it was. I don't recall off the top of my head now. But now he has a better idea of, all right, that is good.
Yep. So with the CCD is what we call it for short, and the comp patrol, if you don't have that and you're doing an engineered project, you got to have a cone petrometer, nuclear density. You have the engineered way to test that soil if it's compacted. With the comp patrol, it eliminates that to a point where.
Now, can you save readings with that? So if the engineer isn't on site currently, okay, you can just hit a button. It stores that reading.
No storage. It's real time. So as the machine's going across that particular part of the ground, that's what it's saying. It's up to the operator to give that feedback. Like, yeah, I had all 7 lights, or I had all 6, and it wasn't going back down.
Right.
We're looking for consistency.
Yeah.
So if it's 3 lights, you go make a pass, it'll go to 4. If it goes to 5 and it doesn't go any higher, then you're done compacting. You do a pass and the numbers don't ever drop and they don't go any higher, then you're done. You've hit max compaction for that machine. It also has an over compaction light, so it gives you an attention light that says the ground's as hard as it is. The machine's starting to leave the ground, and you're starting to take your 3/4 clean and turn it into chip. So you can break down your material.
Your material, yeah.
So,
But it also allows for a dense grade surface to be, I'm not going to say impenetrable, but for lack of a better term, for water runoff.
Yes.
Yeah.
With open grade, you're never going to get 100% compacted because our standard Proctor density is 0 air pockets if you go for 100%. So you get very close.
Yep.
And you still have the water permeable
right.
side of things.
Yep. And that's what I was just getting at. We need some water to permeate through, right? It's all great stuff. But I think even if you're a homeowner tuning in to the Hardscape Huddle today, these are costs that you are going to acquire in your estimate that you're never going to see. But this is where, as far as the paver business or concrete around the pool is concerned, this is where you should be spending the most of your money, is in the base preparation and the things you never see.
Exactly.
But a lot of people don't value that.
You never see it.
Right.
So there's no immediate value that you see because of compaction. If you don't do it right, there's inevitably it's going to fail. Callbacks.
They cost money.
Settling, ruts in your driveway from the vehicular traffic. Yeah, it's probably it's the most important thing on a job site. You can have the prettiest pavers, the most beautiful landscape, all that kind of stuff, but if your subsurface is not where it's supposed to be, you're gonna lose all that beauty.
Yeah.
And so these guys are so talented. These Hardscape guys that, kudos to them for it's hard work. But
It's
boy,
heavy,
at
hot.
the end of the day, man, does it look good?
Yeah,
It
and
looks
you get
great.
to see what you did for the day, right?
Sure.
Rather than just. I flew out to New Jersey and I was on a podcast and wow, I didn't really get anything out of the day. It doesn't feel like right? When you're in the hardscape industry and running that compactor is not the most rewarding, but when you're all said and done and you look back at the end of the project and you say, wow, look at those inlays or look at that set of steps with the lights in there.
Yes. Yeah. It's
You
great
definitely
stuff.
accomplished something.
Well, and as a business owners that are watching, efficiencies. The faster you can get from point A to point B, whether that's compaction or from excavating to get your final check from the customer, if we're more efficient in all the things we do, today's obviously is compaction.
Yeah. But it's interesting. I'm going to cut you off right there for a second. Efficiencies. And Pete and Ryan and I have talked about on this very podcast about being more efficient in your business. So vacuum machines are becoming very, very popular in our industry. And you and I were just speaking off air about how it's even going into the concrete demo business.
Yes.
It's very interesting.
Yes.
But where it relates to your compaction equipment, I'm not too proud to say when I got into business many years ago, still had a full head of hair, I ran a compactor that wasn't reversible. So, compacting your base, you'd run to the end of the patio or driveway or what have you, spin it around. Now, you'd leave a little gap there, right, of this side's now a little higher and this side of your compactor dug in. With efficiency, and we have now reversibles.
Yes.
I think you said 1994 or two.
In the 90s, we and so it definitely makes it faster to compact your base.
Yeah.
Sometimes a bigger machine is better. Sometimes you need a smaller machine. If you're next to a pool, fiberglass pool, you can't have a lot of compaction because you'll push all that stone and you'll lift the pool out of the ground. Hopefully it's got water in it. That helps. That helps.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of different applications for some of the larger machines to do an 8, 10, 12-inch lift to where
At one time.
3, 4, 5 passes, you're done and you're starting to screed your sand in and lay pavers. Whereas if you had a smaller machine, it's going to take a little bit longer. And maybe, some of our CR1, great little machine, 14 inches wide.
So that's the one I'm looking at now. I wanted to see what the biggest one is. So it's a 14-inch Honda motor, 4-stroke, versus one of your larger ones, which would be the CR9, I assume.
Yes, 30 inches.
30 inches diesel motor.
22,000 pounds of compaction force. So
yeah, also weighs 1,600 pounds too. So we need a chain and a machine.
Yes.
Versus the lightest one being
200 pounds.
One manable. You can do it if you have to.
And I'm not saying that every day one contractor, hardscaper, go out and buy a CR9, CR6. You're not there yet.
Yeah.
You got to work. You got to do your time. You don't get the brand new F450 right away. You run around in a inexpensive vehicle, build your business, build your trademark, build a brand. That's it.
Yeah.
So, and everything from the CR1 to the CR9 and in between, there's a fit for a machine for these guys that
And that's why you offer a bunch of different machines.
Sure. Yep.
That's
and Hardscape's not our only industry that we do a lot of construction. There's some civil engineering projects that need huge compaction numbers in a very efficient amount of time. With the open grade, that new technology, that's saving a lot of time. It's a consistent number.
right. And whether you're a first timer or you're a seasoned veteran, The seasoned veteran's got the advantage. He knows what machines he needs for each application. Is there, getting back to the reversibles, and I'm going to back up one page, if I'm just starting out, what machine am I buying? What should I buy? Something that's a universal, I can do it around the pools, I can do it around the driveway.
I would say CR2.
Okay.
I mean, it's a little bit bigger than CR1, but to be more versatile in other projects with dirt on top of pavers, if you don't have a paver roller.
Well, we were going to get into that. Hold on now.
Okay. So that machine, it's doing a 3 to 5 inch lift in densely graded material. It's doing probably the same, if not a little bit more, in the open graded type of stone. You can get it fitted with a poly pad. It's only 5,600 pounds of compaction force, so it should be above the breaking point of the pavers.
Yeah, you should be fine there. I mean, any paver typically has a rating of about 8,000 psi.
Sure.
So,
and it's 18 inches wide, and on this model here, it comes with a wheel kit standard from the factory. So
it does weigh 315 pounds, so you're going to want that wheel kit.
Yep.
You're not putting it in a wheelbarrow and wheeling it to the backyard,
exactly.
or skid steer bucket, what have you.
If you can't put it in a bucket, we put a nice heavy duty steel frame around all of our machines to protect that engine. So it's very robust.
Yep.
Is the word that we like to use. It's a very strong machine. It can take a beating and still perform like it's supposed to.
Interesting.
And then it's like if you're doing driveways, you're going to want a lot of compaction. If you're doing a really long driveway, you don't have a roller, CR6, you're doing 8 to 10 inch lifts.
Most rental centers carrying your product?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of them are.
So, safe to say you may own a CR2,
yes.
but we get a job that you bid, and now you're doing a driveway that's, 30 feet long and 50 feet wide or something like that. You might want to just rent that drum roller.
Yep.
Okay. Pete's big on renting stuff you don't need.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that might be one of those.
Yes. Yep.
Get that compaction you need.
On our website, webermt.us, we got a dealer locator. So that shows every dealer. They may or may not be a rental store, but in the title, it'll, and if it's local, people will know who that company is.
Okay.
So they can locate them rather quickly. And then if that there's not a dealer in that area, then you can call our 800 number and
I was gonna say reach out
to
on the
us,
web.
reach out to me, and we can find somebody that either has it, can rent it to you, or can sell it to you.
Okay.
Regardless.
So one of the biggest things in the paver market is larger slabs.
Yes.
Okay, you're starting to see Teco Block, Unilock, all get. Teco just unveiled one 24 by 36.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful, heavy, covers some, you can lay 6 square feet at a time.
Yeah.
But it's probably 300 pounds if I had to take a guess. Maybe about 200 pounds. Compacting that with a plate compactor, even with a urethane pad, it'll work. But the nicest thing out there anymore, and it's one use, is a roller compactor.
Yes.
Okay, urethane pads, or urethane rollers rather.
Yep. A polyurethane roller.
You guys offer 2 or 3 of them, I think, right?
2.
2?
Well, if you add battery, we offer 3. The VPR 400 and the VPR 450 and the VPR 700.
Again, size is the only difference that I saw.
Size is the only difference,
Yeah.
and compaction force. But with the open grade and chip for a bedding layer, you're not looking to get the paver or the slab embedment in that. You're going to get a little bit of fine-tuning adjustment with the roller, but you're looking to vibrate that joint sand.
Right. Get it down.
Get it down in between the cracks.
And that's a while you're on that real quick, that is something a lot of people just don't do.
Yeah.
They just sweep it. I'm done. Let's collect that check and go home.
So this last week, even doing wet sand, where you have to
epoxy resin sand, yep.
We ran the roller over the top to get that little bit of settlement, just to lock it in a little bit more. It worked tremendously. I mean, it was a great look. The Baylor brothers, they swear by it, because you do get that little bit more of the settlement into the cracks, and it's just a better lock in.
Right.
So the machine doesn't really care
Yeah.
if it's wet.
Doesn't even know.
It knocks the dust off it.
Does the wet sand, like the Gator Nitro or something, is it getting stuck to the urethane rollers?
I didn't see it. The stuff that they used last week, I did not see that stick to the rollers. They didn't have a lot. I mean, there was some on the surface. It rolled right over it, and the rollers were the clear yellow. So with the rollers, that you know, I think everybody should know by now that it doesn't crack or chip the pavers as they get more and more finished looking on top.
Right.
I'm not a block guy, so I don't know all the names of what pavers are, but you know, these marble looking, very smooth, where you don't want scratches, you don't want any damage to.
A long time ago, we used to throw sand on the top of the pavers and run a plate compactor over the top, right?
Sand or plywood or carpet.
Yep.
There's so many things that are inefficient. With a roller, it vibrates, but it doesn't move.
Yeah.
So the operator pushes it as fast or as slow as that sand needs to go in. So it's very efficient.
You know, the only fight that you hear from contractors that come into Staff of Stone are it only has one use. You do not want to use a roller compactor in subsoil, on 3/4 clean, on DGA, what have you. You just don't want to do it. It's only for the surface.
It's only surface.
But it's well worth it.
It's worth every penny. There's guys that say, well, I already got a plate compactor. I can buy the adapter that goes, or don't we make an adapter? It's almost the same price.
Right.
If you buy the roller adapter, it's very close to the same price as
the roller adapter is just for folks that don't know. It's about yay wide. And your plate compactor sits on top of it. I think there's 4 bolts, maybe
4 bolts with brackets, and you have to set up, screw it down, tighten it up, adjust it to make sure you're in the right area. It's a time thing, you know. Efficiencies. We're always talking about efficiencies.
That's right. Saving money. I've never used one. I don't know if you have.
I've been on job sites with them. I've been in classes where students come in and they have that next to it. So I mean, it is a good machine.
Yep.
I'm not knocking anybody's machine, but to be efficient, to have the one that has its own motor, it's ready to go. It's been tested.
You know, where I see the downfall of that is the bolts. Okay, there's a bracket, I think it mounts onto the side of your plate compactor. All of that vibration, and that, if I remember correct, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, that bracket is only welded on.
Yes.
So I do see, and I don't know that it's happened.
Right.
It probably hasn't, you know, but it's not one cohesive unit.
Right. There's potential for
breakage, and you, as contractors know, you know, the guys running the machines usually didn't buy them. Okay, so I forgot to tell you last week that broke.
Right.
Oh well, now that we need it.
Yep.
Right. So
and with the 450 and the 700, not only are they're built like tanks, they're also there's less dust on the job site.
Right. Good
so
point.
When you clean up, you know, we put steel grid underneath, kind of breaks up the airflow underneath. So there's less dust than with a poly pad. That thing makes a heck of a mess.
Yeah.
Where the rollers.
So then you're back to breathing it in, all of those particles.
Yep.
You know, yes, you should be wearing your PPEs. Typically, we're compacting the end of the job. Guys are cleaning up. I probably took all my personal protective equipment off, other than, you know, my ear protection.
Yep.
So yeah, to your point, again, I'm sold on roller compactors.
Oh, they're great.
We
machines.
use them on our displays, and just night and day.
Yep.
I think you came with a PowerPoint, right? We're going to learn a little bit more about the company. I know I came through it when you emailed it to me. Right. I wanted to get this up on the screen because now you get to see a couple of the machines we just spoke about, right? Up in the left corner there, you have the rammer.
Yep.
But tell me what the rest of them are.
Top right corner is just a CF3 typical forward plate.
Forward only, right?
Forward direction only. It vibrates away from you. If you start it up and give it full throttle, it's gonna go in that direction.
Hold on to it.
You're gonna have to catch it. The CR6 in the bottom left corner is our 12,000 pounds of compaction force reversing plate. Like I said, the efficiencies we talked about. A large lift that you can compact, and it goes forward and backwards.
And you're doing about 6 to 12 inches per lift on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Depending on types of soils, you know, densely graded material, 3/4 defines, you're doing 8 to 10.
Wow.
Paver roller in the middle. We just talked about that.
Yeah.
That's the saves.
That's the 700 there.
That's the 450. That's their smaller one. So really, the only difference in between the 450 and the 700 is the bedding sand. If you're going to do a sand set with a large format, that's where you need the 700 to get that coverage to push that paver into the sand.
Right, so you're not vibrating in one
corner of that slab. If you're just doing joint sand on open grade.
Yep.
You're just trying to get that sand in the crack. The 450 is really all you need.
Okay.
The only time I think if you needed a 700 was if you're doing commercial work and you want to get square footage done per day. Obviously, the 700 is a larger machine. You're going to get more coverage, and that's the benefit of that machine. And the last machine here in this picture is the MC85. It's our trench roller, radio controlled, articulated, Kubota diesel.
This was in your video prior with all the mud caked up on it and things like that. Yeah.
So this is great machine in the clay. There's clay. It's the most widely spread material on the planet. Sidewalks. If you're trying to get that base down before you put your open grade in a trench anywhere, places. These are very popular on the East Coast because you got to have shoring. You can't dig your 45 pit, that angle. You don't have the room.
Mm-hmm.
This saves a person. So if you're, you don't have shoring, you can't put a guy in a trench worried about cave-in. You throw this machine in there. If it gets buried, you dig it out. You turn it off.
Diesel. I think I read diesel motor.
Diesel machine.
Yep. Really more geared towards the excavation engineering.
Yes.
Not necessarily hardscape masonry.
Right. Yeah, not the guy that is doing the patio in the backyard.
Right.
This is larger projects, things like that.
Yep.
But just one of the things that we offer and the quality that goes into our equipment.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it's not going to stay that nice and beautiful forever.
No. That takes about 3 minutes to get it dirty.
Yep.
We talked about the rammer, 137 pounds, 11-inch shoe, all the benefits that machine does.
Mm-hmm.
Very good in cohesive soils.
You're going to basically use it as an all-around machine.
You could.
Yeah.
I've seen guys do finish work with this on base.
Okay.
It takes a lot longer because your pad's only 11 inches versus 18 or 22 or whatever. But a guy starting out that could do it. It's not very efficient, but just a high quality machine. The steel cage around the engine that protects it.
Now that's also a Honda motor?
Yep, Honda 4-stroke. No mix, no nothing like that. We do on our rammers. We have 3 extra air filters on that.
Yeah, you're creating a lot of dust typically.
Yes. So on the very front in that blue plastic piece, there's a cyclone filter. Takes about 30% of the dust, big particulates out of the air. The pre-filter and the paper filter that's inside of that. Virtually everything is super clean air going to the Honda filter. So we keep the OEM filter on the machine. So even if that gets damaged, our filters get damaged somehow, you're not going to dust your engine. So keeps everything working well.
Right.
I think our engineers realize that these are in terrible environments. If we can make it last longer, it adds value to that machine.
For sure.
The next machine is our CF3. It's just a forward plate, folding handle, anti-vibration grips, throttles on top of the handle, so you're not bending over. If you've run a forward plate before, like we said, it goes away from you.
Yes. So the one I had, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say you don't have to hold it back because it's gonna keep going until you throttle it down.
Yeah. Well, that was what I was getting at. Is the one I had, and a lot of guys. I know one guy in particular still runs that same machine. Well, you got to keep your hand up there on the handle while you turn on the accelerator at the bottom here, right? Mm-hmm. Because most of the time the throttle cable up near your handle breaks or something like that, right?
Yes.
It did work back then.
Right.
But I didn't have a choice. That's all we had.
Sure. Yeah, you have to do with what you do.
Mm-hmm.
We make the great machines for every application.
Right.
It's hard. This one for a 20-inch plate hits at almost 4,500 pounds of compaction force.
Yeah.
So the difference between a rammer and a plate is the vibration and the weight of the machine compact the dirt, where the impact force on a rammer, it punches the ground. So it forces it down into the ground versus a vibration and weight.
So you might want to use that in a little bit more stubborn situations. Yeah.
Yep. Our CR6 reversing plate, you push the handle forward, the machine goes away from you, you pull it back, it'll back up to you.
Is there a clutch in that?
No, it's all hydraulic.
Okay.
There's to make a machine vibrate, it's an off balance shaft. There's 2 of them in a reversible. One of those shafts, the counterweight is on a bearing, and it can change positions.
Okay.
It's physics. If that position is changed, the vibration changes.
Gotcha.
So there's two exciters on a reversible. As one changes positions, the machine will change direction, and that's how that works.
24-inch wide plate on this thing, right?
Yes. Yep.
Pretty big, 2 feet at a time. That's fantastic.
A lot of coverage, and like we talk about the thickness or the lift, 8 to 10 inches with this machine on densely graded machine.
Crazy.
To get 90, 97, 98% standard Proctor density. So it's a great machine.
It weighs 800 pounds, so I need to have a machine or something there to get this
you
off
have
my truck.
Or 16 guys.
We're talking about efficiency.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Get a Mini X.
Yeah.
To pick it up. How that comp patrol works.
This is the biggest thing. I know Pete's big on this from Techo Block. I'm sure Unilock and other manufacturers are. But again, this is the efficiency. So I don't have callbacks and settlement. It's I wish more people understood this.
Right. Basically, there's a sensor in the plate. It measures the vibration of what the machine's doing. As the frequency gets tighter, as the ground gets harder, it just translates into some lights. And as that frequency gets narrower and narrower, the lights grow from 1 to 7.
So the lights on that picture on
Here.
Yep, right there.
So this is a Techo project down in Nashville.
That was seen at Showcase last year, I believe.
Yep, last year's Showcase. And then they had similar machine. They had the CR6 there in
Delaware
this year. So I was just there last week picking that machine up.
Okay.
And what a beautiful sight that is.
Good.
They did a really nice job there.
Good.
So going back, as the lights get brighter, or a greater number of lights, that it lets you sleep better at night as a contractor, knowing that my compaction, I'm good. I'm not going to have to worry about failures.
Yeah. Right. Right. So interesting thing is here, it says time savings of 25%.
So over compaction. A lot of guys will do a heel test, or looks good.
It looks.
Or you got a brand new guy that he's daydreaming, and he's like, well, the boss told me to compact, and he's not here. He's off getting parts somewhere, and they just go back and forth, back and forth. They're wasting fuel. They're wasting time. Gradation of the materials getting smaller, is breaking that stuff down. So once the attention light right there on the right of the right underneath the L of comp patrol, that red light right there, it'll light up red, bright red, and it's a warning light. Either there's something.
Move on.
Yep. It's kind of like that alarm clock. Like, hey, move.
So
move over.
You've been playing on your phone too long.
Yes,
Move over.
Exactly.
Is there any talks of putting this comp controller on smaller machines, or does it need to be this big of a surface area to read?
Currently, what we've been told is you need this big of a machine to keep itself on the ground, because the weight.
It's 800 pounds.
It's 800 pounds. I think they're trying.
You're not sure.
Not sure.
Okay.
Not sure. But I'm sure at some point it'll happen. Right now, the technology that we have is 800-pound machine is minimum. The weight keeps it on the ground so that you don't get a false reading.
Right. That's true.
If it's smaller and it's bouncing all over the place, you could get a bad reading.
Right. And they do.
Yeah. Yep. We talked about the paver roller. Again, another efficient machine. Saves time and energy. Doesn't damage pavers. Doesn't crack pavers.
You're running 4 urethane rollers or 5?
4.
Okay.
4. Ours are.
And they're replaceable, correct?
They are. We've had, so it's been about 8 years, and the VPR 700 was the first machine that came out. The only complaint we got was it was too heavy. I mean, all the accolades go to, you know, what it does. It's designed to do. So we made a smaller one. What's funny, it's a funny stat. In the United States, we sell about 10 to 1, 450 to 700. In Europe, it's the opposite.
Vice versa.
It's the bigger machine covers more ground, and they don't care if it weighs more. But here, I mean, if you got 2 guys, 3 guys in a pickup, you can't pick it up as easily. If you're doing a tiered project, it's harder to get down there. I say if you can get your pavers down there with the skid steer, you can get the big machine down there. But I understand, you know, it's hard to do. So we came out with the 700, the 450 as a smaller size. We've replaced a few rollers, and it's only been because of droppage or damage that it rolled out of the truck, or it sat in a mud puddle over the weekend and it rusted the bearings. As far as wear, you know, it's the rollers or the pavers. The paver rollers are moving all the time, so they're not sliding.
Right.
They're not wearing out.
And as long as you don't have anything stone-wise on your paver or what have you, you shouldn't have an issue.
No, typically this is all swept off when you run these
Correct.
on there to compact it. If you don't get everything, nothing sticks to the rollers. It's a very hard plastic, and it's very, very hard to damage them.
I'm pretty impressed that the nitro sand or the epoxy resin sand that you were using. Don't know what brand it is, and that's okay. But it didn't even stick to your rollers. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's a very smooth finish. There's a bit of texture to it, but the sand rolled right. I mean, as the guys were rolling the sand out and then rolling the 700 over the top of it, they were spraying everywhere. So it was wet. There may have been some residual, but it's just going to knock off.
Correct.
You know, hit it with
doesn't stick to the pavers. That's the nicest thing about that type of sand.
We talked a little bit about trench roller. For what it's built for, I mean, it's a very expensive machine, but you know, what's the life of an employee if you're in a trench? You know, if that wall were to cave in, you know, you're going to get injured.
Remote control. So here you don't even have a body down in that trench,
Correct.
which is a nice thing.
If you're, you know, some of these contractors are in the hardscape industry. Maybe all they do is excavating. They come in, they partner with a guy that's going to lay some pavers. Your excavating operator doesn't even have to get out of the truck, out of the cab. He starts as remote. Machines anywhere from 2 meters to 90 meters away will operate in that distance. It won't the machine will shut down so it does not run over the remote control. so you protect the operator. If he's standing out, you know, if he's not in his cab of his excavator, is not going to run himself over, so he can do his thing. So if you needed, I talked to some fellows at World of Concrete that they wanted a trench roller because it eliminates an employee.
Shows up after the Super
every
Bowl.
day. Because if you need another operator, if you have a ride-on machine, you need another operator.
Right.
But if it's a remote control, the guy never leaves his machine. So
pretty soon you'll be engineering these to run off GPS.
Sure.
You won't even need an operator.
You just need somebody to say, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
So
this is diesel powered.
Kubota, very resourced very well in the United States. Yeah, just
not something a Staff, a Stone, or a Hardscape supply yard probably going to carry.
Probably not. This would be a rental machine.
Yep.
You know, like Pete talked about. We want spend your money wisely.
Yeah.
And if you need it, there's plenty of places that rent these machines. That's my big finish here. So picture a future where innovation, efficiency, and safety define our projects. Our equipment leads the way, pushing boundaries and making your vision a reality. Elevate your projects with us. Let's build greatness together. So I think
that says a lot right there.
Yeah.
You know, and again, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the education, right? You did a great job today showing us the factory, the plant, where things are made, how they're made. You know, a lot of companies aren't willing to educate the end user on how or what went into the engineering of it, what went into the manufacturing of it. And I'm glad you guys were willing to do that today.
Yeah,
and getting back to our audience of there is a U.S.-based Weber. Okay, it's
Grand Rapids,
Michigan, right? Yep. You know, so it has. We're not gonna. It's not just imports, I should say, right?
Right.
So I think that goes great with our audience as we try to keep our money here in the United States. Well, for the guys that are tuning in, we're in the education season, as we know, hence why you're here today. If there's not a Techo showcase nearby where they're viewing from, where else can they find you guys at? Or what other shows are you doing this year?
H&A, which is the big Hardscape North America.
Down in Louisville?
Down in Louisville is a huge show for the hardscape industry.
Do you get to test machines outdoors there?
We have an outdoor booth where you can run pretty much everything that we have there. We probably bring 15, 20 machines that we fill up with gas and put them in the pit, and then the guys can try them out. Like I said, we are covered all in North America with a rep group of people.
Mm-hmm.
So
how about there's an upcoming show here in the Northeast, Northeast Hardscape up in Connecticut, Mohegan Sun, I think, coming up in March or April.
We have dealers there.
Okay.
So we have plenty. I think there's 3 or 4 dealers that show our equipment there. A lot of our reps work with those guys and sit in their booths. Open houses, there's a million of them that happen every year.
Yep.
Customer appreciation days, where customers and dealers of ours have areas that we can run machines. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the local Staff of Stone.
Yep.
You guys have a customer appreciation day.
Yep.
If there's opportunity for us to be there, we'll do that. And then most of the time, it's an email or phone call away. Hey, I want to use your machine. How do I get it? These types of things. And the reps will make an appointment, come out and see you, bring machines with you, with the dealer, or the dealer can as well.
Right.
So they can
only sell through dealers, no direct sales.
No direct sales.
Okay.
No, there's too many guys to keep track of.
Yeah.
Dealing with dealerships is difficult enough. With different areas, different time zones, all the stuff that goes along with running businesses.
For sure.
So we limited it to that. But we are at Weber, we're very hands-on with the end users. We'll show up, we'll bring machines. I got them in my truck all the time. Show up to a job site, and any contractor USA says, hey, I want to try out the CR6. We'll throw it in the ground, run it around, and go from there. So, and then then we run it through the local dealer.
Right.
So,
right.
But as far as our staff, between Todd, Selena, Jamie, Jay, Jason, trying to remember everybody, Cortez, Paul.
Shout out. This is
Eric,
shout out time here.
Will, these guys are the ones. These people are that make it happen.
Yeah.
So, huge shout out to the office staff that make it possible for me to jump on an airplane, fly out here.
Yeah.
And do the things that we have to do out on the road. Hotels, the food,
of course,
all this kind of stuff.
Of course.
If it wasn't managed right, it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's an interesting business model, and I'm surprised it's only, what'd you say, 200 employees?
200 in Germany.
Yeah, so you're 250-ish.
212.
Oh, okay.
We got 12 here. I forgot Ariel. So.
Okay. Not that you forget it. You were saving the best for last.
The best for last. So.
But no, I mean, it's you're a sizable company to cover as much of a territory as you guys do.
Yeah.
From Germany to the United States, Canada, Mexico, most likely.
Yep.
With 212 people, rather impressive.
Yes.
And it's a great product.
Mm-hmm.
And like we mentioned before, this is the meat and potatoes of your backyard.
Yes.
And homeowners don't understand that. The end user just doesn't understand it because they can't visualize it.
Right.
Okay. And unfortunately, there's a lot of contractors out there that aren't taking the proper steps to get proper compaction, and therefore it settles. And we've had other episodes here that curb appeal is everything.
Yes.
Okay, and we're seeing here along the Jersey shoreline more and more people get hardscaped paver driveways and things like that. Well, if your contractor doesn't do the right compaction, or maybe puts in the right material, but he's only got a machine that can do 3-inch lifts and compaction, but yet he puts in 6 or 8 inches into your driveway.
Yep.
And he's using a smaller machine, he's not getting the proper compaction. Therefore, when I move into that neighborhood, And I say, well, look at that driveway. It's got all those ruts in it.
Mm-hmm.
It ruins the business for the installer, the supplier, the manufacturer, because they think their driveway is going to end up rutted like that when it all could have been settled with the proper compaction.
Correct. And that comes from education.
Hence why you guys spend so much time in it.
Yes. Yep.
You know?
And there's manufacturers, I'd throw Tackle Block. They do a great job of educating contractors. Their founder, I watched his video the other day talking about he saw projects that were failing that were his material and didn't want that to happen. Otherwise, the industry, would be in shambles. Let's do it right. Educate best practices. There's an SOP for everything. And if we can get that, starting with compaction, starting with the materials that we're using.
The interesting thing is that if you notice the people that have partnered with Teco that have also partnered with you, they're family-owned operations as well, right? I know Staffa Stone is, and I know a couple other dealers you deal with locally in this area are as well. Charlie from Teco, Weber, Staffa Stone, the other dealers, all family-operated, owned and operated. And I think that goes a long ways with the viewers.
It's huge. I mean, we all want to go home and see our families at the end of the day, and if we can do it in a good way, where we're representing ourselves and our community, our businesses, our churches, all that. If we're representing them in a positive way, I think it's a win-win for everybody.
For sure.
So
for sure. Well, hey, I appreciate you showing up to the Hardscape Huddle today.
Thanks for having me. It's been great.
Yeah.
It's been great.
No, it's enlightening. It brings new life to it, right? I mean, compaction isn't the most exciting part of our business, right, as we talked about before, but it's probably the biggest necessity out there.
Oh, it's huge. I think if anything, if you could spend the money on something, if it's compaction, everything else will fall into this place.
I'll talk to Black Swallowtail Studios and lending me one of these cameras for when I get when I receive that FedEx package in the mail with the first class ticket to Germany.
Sure.
All right. Maybe do it around Oktoberfest. We can kill two birds, one stone.
That would be a great time to do it.
All right. Again, Simon, Weber MT, thank you for showing up.
Thanks for having me.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's episode of the Hardscape Huddle. We'll check back with you. Thank you.